Hello, everyone. My name is Athika. I am a graduate assistant at the Center for Global Engagement's International Student and Scholar Services. And today we're going to talk to you about the 10 reasons why your OPT application could be delayed, denied, or rejected. I have two of our international student scholars here with us today, and they're going to introduce themselves and we can get started.
Yeah, my name is Brian Todd, and I'm an international student advisor in the Center for Global Engagement, International Student and Scholar Services, and I'm glad to be a part of this short video that we're putting together for you guys.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yevie Tefukova, and I'm also an international student advisor in the ISSS office within the Center for Global Engagement. Also glad to be here, and I hope you enjoy our presentation.
So the first of the reasons that we're going to talk about is no fee payment.
Yeah, so no fee payment problems are obviously going to stop your application, and this can happen a number of different ways. So the first way is you fail to send a check or money order at all. So you send your application without a check or money order. It could also happen if you use a check, but then there are insufficient funds in the bank account to actually process the payment. I've seen this happen before where somebody sent their OPT application to USCIS and then they moved to California, and then they took the money out of their bank in Tennessee and put it in the bank in California, and when the USCIS tried to cash the check, there was no money in the account. So make sure there's money in the account for the check. Not formatting the check correctly is another problem, or not putting the appropriate amount on the check. So as of November, and now it's December, it's still this amount here in 2020. $410 is the correct amount. There are sometimes fee increases, and sometimes, like in October, we were supposed to have a fee increase and then it didn't happen at the last moment. So before you send your check, check the USCIS website or ask your advisor, make sure that you have the correct amount. This is what the check should look like. Obviously on the number 6 there, that should be a signature. There are instructions on how to write a check or money order. Those are available in the OPT seminar in Canvas. So if you aren't sure, go to the OPT seminar. There's a document about how to write a check. There's also a document about how to write a money order that Athika has prepared for you guys, and they're really helpful.
So in summary, not paying the fee payment correctly could result in a rejection notice.
Athika, I'm going to cut in and just mention one more thing. In the very first slide, we said rejected, we said denied, we said delayed. Those are 3 different things that can happen, and I just wanted to mention that rejected means that they don't even officially receive the application. They send it back with a letter, with a rejection notice. They send everything back and they say, we couldn't process it. So that's what rejection means.
So the next reason is you have photos that are not accepted.
So this could be a typical issue for students that submit photos that don't meet the specific specifications that are provided by the DHS. So for example, they're the wrong size, or the photos are older than 30 days. So we recommend that you take recent photos that no older than 30 days. And also another reason is that you may have used those photos in the past either to renew a passport or to apply for a new visa. So those photos have been used before. Those are some of the issues that could lead to a either an RFE or a denial of the application. So here you could see some of the detailed specifications for what the photos should look like. When you are reviewing the instructions in the OPT seminar, you'll be actually able to access this. So you can get your photos taken at a Walgreens or a CVS, and if you request for your photos to be passport sized, they should fall within all of these specifications. But before you mail them, or before you even leave the Walgreens, just make sure that they meet all of the requirements.
So rejected photos usually result in a request for evidence, so an RFE. And the next reason is having the wrong version of the I-765 form.
Yeah, so on the I-765, we have noticed in recent years that those forms get updated a lot. So you want to make sure you're using the correct version of the form. You want to compare the information that is on the I-765 form that you're filling out with the authorized version according to USCIS. We've got a link here, www.uscis.gov/I-765. That's the official link. That's where you can find the correct version of the form. If International Student Scholar Services fails to update our Canvas OPT seminar, which we normally do, but if we don't have the current version in there, that's no excuse. USCIS doesn't care. So make sure you confirm with USCIS directly that you have the correct version of the form. This is a sample of the form that was became the current edition in August of 2020. And as of the time of making this video, this is the version that we're using. You'll notice that in the top right, there is an expiration date. You can verify that your form has that same expiration date, even if that date has already passed. There have been times in the past where we continued using a form past the expiration date. So the way you can know is you check with USCIS to make sure you have the right one. Also in the bottom corner, you see the edition date. This one is August 25th, 2020. So if your screen isn't big enough to where if you can't see the detail on that, just know bottom left, the edition date. This is probably the most important place to check to make sure you have the correct version of the form.
So failure to submit the correct version of the I-765 could result in an OPT rejection, an RFE, or an OPT denial. Next reason is I-765 signature issues.
So we always recommend that students sign within the box that's provided in Part 3, Item 7A. So here you could see two examples on the left-hand side. The signature is correct. It's completely within that box. And on the right-hand side, the signature is too big. So we really recommend that, that you try to stay within that box. The other issue that we've recently seen is, so ISSS has moved away from paper processing OPT applications, and everything is being submitted electronically. So we're seeing that students are submitting the I-765 that's signed electronically with a digital signature. And that could cause an issue. So make sure that before you mail the I-765, you actually sign it with black ink, and it's a wet signature. It's your original signature. So those are some of the issues that that could lead to problems with your OPT application.
So failure to sign the application correctly may result in a denial or an RFE as well. The next reason is if your OPT application was received early.
Okay, and I've actually got a couple of reasons that I'm going to talk about together here, and we're about halfway done. So far, my dog hasn't come in and barked, so we're doing pretty well with this this improvised video. But 90-day rule, early application. So you are not allowed to apply more than 90 days before the end of your program. And if USCIS receives your application too early, then you're going to have problems. International Student and Scholar Services, ISSS, recommends not shipping to USCIS until 90 days before the program end date of your I-20. When we say program end date, look at your I-20. There's a start date and an end date. It's going to be like the last day of your last semester, or maybe just before that. But check that date. Make sure that there's no possibility that USCIS can receive your application more than 90 days before that end date. Don't allow the slightest chance that it could arrive too early. I can't say this strongly enough.
So another reason is if your OPT application was received late as well.
Okay, so the 60-day rule. This would be a late application. So the window to apply is 90 days before your end date and 60 days after, which would be the end of your grace period. We recommend that you apply early during the application window and that you submit your documents to International Student and Scholar Services at least does it say 2 there? My screen is blocked. I think it's 2 weeks. Yes, I think it's nodding yes. For some reason, that part of my screen is blocked. You guys can
It
see
says
it on
3
yours.
weeks.
3 weeks?
Actually,
Okay.
yeah.
3 weeks. So 3 weeks before the end of your grace period. Right now, Athika's screen that shows Athika is right over that 3 on my screen. So at least 3 weeks before the end of your grace period. And if you're applying late, you want to be sure to send it to USCIS so that it will arrive at least a week before the end of your grace period. I've seen so many situations, not so many, but a few, where people thought they were going to be fine and something unexpected happened that caused a delay. I had a case where somebody sent 1 business day before. So actually, they were 92 days before their program end date. They used one of our couriers. I'm not sure which one. They signed up for 2-day shipping so that it wouldn't arrive too early. And that courier shipped it in 1 day. So the student's application was actually denied because of that. So my advice is don't leave any possibility. So wait until the first day that it could arrive before you send it, and then send it next day shipping or something.
So having an early or a late application could result in, or always results in, a denial of your employment authorization request. So next thing we're going to talk about is the 30-day rule for OPT I-20. The I-20 must not have been issued more than 30 days prior to USCIS receiving the application.
So when ISSS advisors, myself and Brian and Eric, when we process your application, your OPT application, we also issue an OPT I-20. And the date that we issue the I-20 is what starts the 30-day clock. So your application must then be received by USCIS no later than the 30 days after your OPT was recommended. So make sure that as soon as we process the application, you go ahead and send it to USCIS as soon as possible.
So an application submitted with an OPT I-20 issued more than 30 days ago will result in a denial. The next reason is failure to indicate the reason for applying. So you must check one of the boxes on part 1 of the I-765. Oh, Brian, you're muted.
This is very impromptu. Thanks for your patience. So the reason that you apply depends on, so the reason that you check depends on the reason you're applying. So the majority of the time, people are applying for the first 12 months of post-completion OPT. So in that case, you should check initial permission to accept employment. So on this first one, if it's your first 12 months of OPT for this degree level, you're always going to choose initial permission to accept employment, even if you had OPT at a previous degree level. So you're a doctoral graduate, PhD, but you previously did OPT for the master's level. For that PhD, first 12 months, you're still going to say initial permission to accept employment. If you're applying for the STEM extension, the 24-month STEM extension for OPT, you're going to check renewal of my permission to accept employment. So here is what it looks like. So most of the time, if most students, they're applying for the first time for OPT, they're always going to check 1A. The only people that check 1C are people that already have OPT currently, and they're extending their current OPT for 24 months, and it's for the STEM extension.
So a failure to indicate a reason for applying could result in an RFE or a denial. You having some trouble going to the next slide, Brian? Okay.
No, I went there. Maybe you didn't see it.
Oh, okay. So the next reason we're going to talk about is a failure to indicate your eligibility category. You must file the correct code on Part 2, number 27 of the I-765 application.
So again, this depends on whether you're applying for the post-completion OPT for the 12 months period or for the 24-month STEM OPT extension. So depending on that, you'll either say C3B or C3C would be the eligibility category. And here you could see a snapshot of the I-765. So most students, or all students that are applying for the post-completion OPT will say C3B or number 27.
So a failure to indicate the eligibility category can result in an RFE or denial. So the next reason is if your OPT is approved, but the EAD card was lost in the mail.
And I think this is actually the final reason. We'll go back and look at the EAD card. Without this EAD card, you're not going to be able to start work. So it's a tragedy when your OPT gets approved and something goes wrong and your EAD card does not get delivered to you or to CGE so that we can get it to you. So we strongly recommend using the CGE address on your I-765 application under your US mailing address. Is it the US mailing address? I may have that. Yeah, okay. So there's a US mailing address and then there's a residential address. There's actually two different address places on the I-765. So the one that says mailing address, that's where you use the CGE address, which I've got on your screen here, 1620 Melrose Avenue. When you use that address, you know that somebody's going to receive that. That address is never going to change. We're always going to be able to receive it for you. And then once we receive it, we'll let you know that we have it. You can either come by and pick it up or you can arrange to have it shipped to you where you are. If your EAD card is lost in the mail, it could take several months to get a replacement. And most likely you will have to pay the application fee again. So you may think it's not your fault, but it's not going to matter very much. You're still going to have to pay the fee again. You're going to have to wait 2 or 3 months, and it will probably delay the start of your employment. The way this happens is somebody says, I want it sent to me directly. And so they put their own residential address for the mailing address. And then for some reason they leave. They move to a new address. And they think, well, I'll just put a forwarding address. But these EAD cards don't get forwarded. So You can't, I just strongly tell people, please use the CEGE address, because getting that card lost, it's time consuming, it takes a long time, it costs more money. It costs a lot more money if your employment is delayed than having to pay the fee again. So please use the CGE address. And I think that's our last reason. So I'll just go back out again. I just want to say thanks for listening, but I'll let Athika kind of drive from here.
Well, so I was going to ask both of you if you have any final tips or issues that you want to discuss before we wrap up.
Well, if Yevie, you got something?
I was just going to bring up our current issue with the delay of receipt notices being processed at the logbox locations. So we hope that this isn't going to continue for very long, but currently there's a very long delay in getting a receipt notice after your OPT application is actually delivered to a lockbox location.
Yeah, this was totally unexpected. We don't know why. We haven't been given an explanation. Everybody knows about it. It's nationwide. It's at every university is affected. We don't know how long it's going to last. So if you're in this situation, you happen to be watching this video, we're sorry. There's not much we can do to change it, but be patient. And it could be by the time you're watching this video that this is in the past and it was very temporary. We hope that's the case. But from time to time, there are unexpected things that happen. The processing time of OPT can fluctuate. So you really got to be patient with the process. If you encounter problems, just contact an advisor, let us know about it, because you could be the first one to encounter it, and it would be very helpful to hear from you. Having said that, I don't really know of any other OPT issues that are going on right now, but I want to say that we're recording this in December of 2020, and we wish that this past year had gone differently, where we could have seen you guys more face to face. Hopefully this is a substitute that will be useful for you, and we look forward to seeing you again in person, hopefully in the near future.
Brian, I do want to add just one more tip for those students that may be applying now and might experience that delay in the processing of receipt notices. Go ahead and make sure that you ship with a courier that provides a tracking number. That way you have a confirmation of your application having been received, just in case you might need to provide that in the future, or need to use that in the future. So having a trackable way to know that your application has been delivered is important.
Well, we just want to say thank you to Brian and Yevie for providing us with all this good information about the OPT process. And thank you to all of you guys that tuned in. So we hope you found this helpful. And if you are looking for more information or want to find our contact information, you can go to international at utk.edu. So thanks everyone for tuning in.